You're listening to Darkleaveswhisper, where real encounters with the unexplained rise from the shadows of memory. These are not tales born of fantasy, but echoes from the lives touched by something other. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers for supporting this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps keep the whispers alive. Now, settle in, keep the lights low, and listen closely. Our first story tonight begins. Story 1, Midnight at the Clearing. I wasn't planning to revisit my childhood home that summer. After Dad passed, I locked the door of the old cabin in the Appalachian foothills and left without looking back. But when I got the call from my sister Emily in June, she'd found Dad's journals in a sealed crate under the floorboards, I knew I had to go. The road home twisted like memory, steep and narrow. Fog hung low over the trees as if the mountains were exhaling something too heavy to hold. When I pulled up, the cabin looked just like I left it. Pinewood walls, slanted roof, and the front porch sagging slightly like a tired face. The swing creaked even without wind. That was the first thing that unsettled me. Emily hugged me tightly, her fingers trembling just a little more than I remembered. "You're not gonna like what's in those journals," she said, eyes avoiding mine. "But you deserve to know." My father was a quiet man, a logger, a veteran, a churchgoer. He wasn't the kind to speak of ghosts or dreams, but his journal painted a different man entirely. The entries started plain enough. Weather notes, small frustrations, memories of Mom. But then, sometime in 1998, they changed. He wrote of hearing voices in the trees, not whispers exactly, but rhythm, like speech. He started walking into the woods alone, sometimes at midnight. There were entries titled "The Clearing," written in increasingly jagged handwriting. July 12, 1998. They called again tonight. Same place, same time, a woman crying. Not a woman, Marie. But that can't be. She's gone. Long gone. Marie was his sister. She died in 1963, found drowned in a creek not far from the cabin. I never knew much about her. Dad never spoke of her. Mom said it was too painful. As I read deeper, the entries grew frantic. He saw her standing in the clearing behind the house, wearing the same Sunday dress from the funeral. Sometimes she'd smile. Other times she'd mouth words he couldn't hear. He kept trying to follow, but she'd vanish. It wasn't marked on any maps, but I remembered the clearing. We used to run around it as kids, chasing fireflies and falling into grass soft as clouds. But even then, we were told not to go there after dark. Snakes and spirits don't like being stepped on, Dad used to say. That night, I went anyway. The moon was pale and cold. I didn't bring a flashlight. I wanted to see it the way Dad did. The trees grew close. Branches arched like cathedral beams. The air changed near the clearing, heavier, as if my breath no longer belonged to me. Then I stepped into it, and every sound died. No insects, no wind, just me and the memory of something waiting. I didn't see her, but I felt her. The way a room feels when someone else is in it, before you turn round. Cold, familiar, and terribly sad. Back at the cabin, Emily was waiting on the porch with a bottle of Dad's old rye and a face pale as milk. "You went out there," she said. "Did you hear her?" I froze. "You've heard her too?" She nodded. "Since the funeral. I never told you. I thought it was just me. But after Dad died, it got worse." She said Marie had come to her twice in dreams, mouthing the same thing. "Find me, set me free." Her dress was always soaked, her fingers wrinkled and pale. I didn't sleep that night. I listened to the trees, the wind, the silence, and around 3:12 a.m., I heard it, a girl crying. The next day, Emily and I returned to the clearing. We brought shovels. I don't know why. It wasn't logical, but something compelled us. About 5 feet down, Emily's shovel hit something. A rusted metal box. Inside, a child's shoe. A locket with a picture of Dad and a younger Marie. In a yellowed letter. It read, "To whoever finds this, I didn't kill her. I only wanted to protect her. She was too fragile. I told him she ran off, but I buried the truth in the roots. If she ever speaks, listen. I tried. God forgive me." It wasn't signed, but I knew the handwriting. Dad had always been a quiet protector, the kind of man who would die for someone he loved without ever admitting it. Whatever happened to Marie that day in 1963, he carried it in silence for the rest of his life, until the silence started to speak. We burned the letter and buried the box again, but deeper. This time with prayer, with apology, with the kind of love that speaks louder than shame. That night, I returned one last time. She was there, Marie, clearer than before, her dress no longer dripping. She looked me in the eyes and mouthed, "Thank you." And then she was gone. No fade, no trick of mist. Just gone. We sold the cabin that fall. Sometimes when I'm lying awake in the city, I hear a distant wind that doesn't match the trees. And I wonder if she ever truly left, or if she just finally found peace. But I believe this. The dead don't haunt us out of hate. They linger because of love and all the unfinished pieces it leaves behind. Story 2. The Dancer in the Shadow. I was 18 when I left the northern highlands of Chiang Rai, a quiet Hmong village wrapped in mist and embroidered tradition, for the blinding city lights of Bangkok. Everything felt foreign. The cars that never stopped honking, the smells of fried meat and motor oil, the glass towers that scraped the sky like teeth. My uncle had a cousin with a spare unit near Phra Kanong. It wasn't in the city's heart, but close enough for someone like me to feel like I was finally becoming a modern woman. I'd always dreamed of getting into a textile design program, not just weaving like we did back home, but drawing patterns for high-end fashion. When I arrived, I could tell the building had aged with the kind of weight that time doesn't forgive. The paint was chipped. The lobby was dim. The elevator always creaked like it didn't want to work. But I didn't care. I had my own space, a place to call mine. The apartment was on the 5th floor, Unit 502. The air inside smelled faintly like old jasmine, incense, and wetwood. Still, it was quiet at first. That first week, I spent most of my time out, running errands for school, buying simple groceries, learning the rhythm of the streets. But at night, I hear strange sounds. It started faint, like soft tapping. Then one night, I thought I heard music. A flute, high-pitched and slow. Then the faint thump of what sounded like a traditional Thai drum. It came in waves. I thought someone downstairs was playing music late. But when I went to check, the hallway was silent, empty. I told myself maybe I was just homesick. Maybe I missed the sounds of my village too much, and my brain was tricking me. But then came the shadow. One night, while brushing my hair near the mirror, I saw something move across the floor. A shadow. Delicate arms swaying. Fingers curled in perfect motion. A dancer. But when I looked up, there was no one there. Just my empty living room. It vanished in a blink. I laughed nervously. City stress, I muttered. But in truth, my skin crawled. Later that week, I went downstairs to talk to the building's caretaker. She was an older woman named P. Wan, always wearing a yellow polo and a red string bracelet. "You stay in 502, yes?" she asked when I mentioned my unit. Her expression tightened. "Yes. Why?" Her lips thin. "No one lived there long. People leave, say it feel not alone." I asked if someone had died there. She wouldn't answer directly. "Just don't disrespect the place," she said. "If you hear music, don't follow it. If you see something strange, don't speak to it." That night, I kept the lights on. I didn't sleep well. The shadow returned the next evening. This time, I saw it clearly. A woman in full Thai classical dance attire, a golden chadda crown, red silk skirt, layers of shimmering fabric. Her shadow glided across the wall, hands moving in slow, sorrowful grace. But she had no body, only the dark echo of one. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, the shadow was gone. I started researching online. Stories about Bangkok. Apartments with spirits weren't uncommon, but nothing about my building. I tried asking neighbors. Most shrugged or avoided my questions. Then, on the seventh night, something changed. I woke up to music, but this time it wasn't distant. It was inside my apartment. I sat up, heart hammering. The flute was playing, its notes long, mournful. Then came the drum, soft at first, then growing. I stumbled out of bed and looked toward the living room. There, in the middle of the room, was the shadow. It was dancing again, but this time I saw more. A flicker of light behind the shadow, a faint outline of a woman. Her body shimmered, half there, half not. Her face was beautiful, but sad. Her eyes were empty, like wells without a bottom. She turned toward me, and she bowed. I gasped. I didn't move. I couldn't. Then, gone. I couldn't sleep after that. I packed my bags and went to stay with a classmate for a few days. When I finally returned, it was with a purpose. I needed to know who she was. I visited a local shrine. An old monk listened to my story. He nodded slowly. "She's stuck," he said. "Some spirits linger when they die with deep longing, especially performers. They pour their soul into their art. If death comes suddenly, they don't even know they've died." I asked if I could help her. He told me to bring offerings, incense, flowers, music, to let her know she was seen. That night, I lit 3 incense sticks. I placed a lotus flower on the floor and played a recording of traditional Thai music. Then I bowed. I didn't speak. I only sat. And she came. She didn't dance this time. She stood still, watching. Her hands were at her sides. I looked at her and whispered, "You're not forgotten." A tear slid down her cheek. Then she faded. I never saw her again, but I later learned the truth. Unit 502 had once belonged to a young dancer named Nari. She come from the north just like me. She was training to perform in a prestigious palace show. The night before her audition, she was practicing in that very room. They said she collapsed suddenly, an undiagnosed heart condition. She died alone, mid-rehearsal. No one found her for days. She never got her final bow. Now, she has it. Story 3, The Negative Still Remembers. I remember the first time I arrived in Bangkok. The city swallowed me whole. Bright neon signs flickering like restless spirits. The steady drone of traffic punctuated by the wailing of street vendors and the sharp crack of tuk-tuks weaving through congested lanes. I came from a small Hmong village, high in the mountain of northern Thailand. Life there was slow, marked by the rhythm of season and ancient traditions. But the city was different. Pulsing, electric, impossible to ignore. My name is Mai Si. I came to Bangkok to study photography at the university, chasing a dream that seemed far away in my quiet village. Photography wasn't just a craft for me, it was a way to capture the world's hidden stories, the unseen moments between light and shadow. But some stories refused to stay hidden. It began with a routine assignment, urban exploration, to photograph the forgotten parts of the city. My classmates laughed at the idea of exploring abandoned buildings, but I felt drawn to the stories held in peeling paint and rusted hinges. One place caught my attention, an old theater near Hua Lampong Station. It was closed decades ago after a mysterious fire, the kind of place that locals avoided. The brick walls were blackened, windows shattered. I wanted to capture the decay, the echoes of applause long silenced. The first photos were uneventful, just rubble and dust. But when I uploaded the images, I saw her. In one photo, faint and blurred, was the silhouette of a woman. She was dressed in traditional Thai con dance costume, a golden embroidered dress with intricate patterns, a tall pointed crown with delicate spires, and long fingernails curved like talons. Her pose was elegant but unnerving. Her arms curved in the precise shapes of the dance, but her face was pale, eyes hollow. I showed the photo to Ajarn Somchai, my professor. She frowned. That place, she said quietly, is haunted. I didn't believe her at first. As the days passed, I began hearing the music. Sometimes, late at night, I would lie in bed, and the distant sound of a Thai flute would drift through the window. The notes were melancholic, winding like smoke through the air. Occasionally, faint drum beats would join, the rhythmic thumping of the taphon drum, slow and mournful. At first, I thought it was from a street performance or a radio, but the sounds never came from anywhere I could find. I began to see shadows. One night, I was editing photos in my small apartment when the floor reflected a dancing figure, a shadow moving with graceful, fluid motions. When I looked up, the room was empty. The shadow vanished like smoke. I started researching the theater's history, digging through old newspapers and archives. The theater was once home to the prestigious National Con Dance Academy. The academy was known for training performers in the classical mask dance drama, telling stories from the Ramakien, Thailand's version of the Ramayana epic. In 1998, the academy held open auditions for a major show, a revival of a famous Ramakien performance. It was supposed to be the launchpad for young talent. Niranafa Siritong Nira was one of the finalists, a promising dancer known for her beauty and fierce dedication. But the night before the first rehearsal, she collapsed backstage and died mysteriously. The cause was never confirmed. Some whispered poisoning, others said a curse. After her death, the academy closed and the theater was abandoned. Despite the warnings, I returned to the theater. I wanted to understand, to see for myself. One afternoon, I entered the decaying building. Dust motes danced in the shaft of light through broken windows, the air smell of mildew and forgotten memories. On the stage lay offerings, joss sticks still smoldering, a golden sash folded neatly. I raised my camera and took a shot. The shutter clicked. Suddenly, the air shifted. A cold wind whispered through the cracked walls, carrying the faintest melody, drums and flute. Then she appeared, Nira, her form translucent yet vivid, dancing in the eerie half light. Her eyes lock on mine through the lens. When I lowered the camera, she was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. The music echoed in my mind. The shadow of her dance haunted every corner. I confided in Pim, my roommate. "You have disturbed her spirit," she said gravely. "In Thai belief, dancers are sacred. Their souls are bound to the dance, to the stories they tell." She told me about rituals to appease restless spirits, offerings, prayers, chants, but said ultimately some spirits choose to linger. The following days were worse. Images on my camera multiplied with her ghostly presence, in reflections, in puddles, in the flicker of passing headlights. I tried deleting the photos, but they returned. I burned the memory cards. The flames hissed strangely, and I felt a chill seep into my bones. Then came the email. No sender. No explanation. "Return to where you first saw her." She waits. A date? A time? I knew I should have ignored it, but curiosity, or something darker, compelled me. The theater was open. Inside, the air thrummed with anticipation. Nira danced again, and when I lowered the camera, the world shifted. The exit vanished, and I realized I was trapped. The air was thick with dust and silence, heavier somehow, pressing on my lungs. The faint light from a broken skylight barely reached the worn wooden stage. The golden sash still lay on the floor where I had seen it before. Suddenly, the faint strains of flute and drum began again, a mournful, hypnotic rhythm. The music wrapped around me, pulling me forward as if by unseen hands. Then she appeared, Nira. Her shimmering form moved gracefully. The intricate folds of her traditional Thai Khan costume catching the ghostly light. Her face was serene, yet her hollow eyes carried a depth of sorrow I could not look away from. She danced slowly, each movement precise, telling a story I could almost understand. The tragedy of her untimely death echoed in every gesture. I raised my camera, trembling, and captured her in my lens. The shutters clicked, shattered the spell. Nira's eyes locked with mine. A whisper floated through the air, barely audible but clear in its desperation. "Help me." Before I could respond, a sudden gust swept through the theater, extinguishing the faint light. Darkness swallowed everything. I fumbled for my phone. The screen flickered and died. The exit was gone. The theater had become a prison. Panic surged, but I forced myself to breathe. I remembered the stories Pim had told me of rituals and offerings to appease wandering spirits. I searched the stage for the golden sash and joss sticks, clutching them close. Whispering a prayer I barely understood, I lit the joss sticks. The flames flickered weakly, but as they did, a soft glow emanated from Nira's form. She reached out to me, her translucent fingers brushing my hand. A coldness spread through me, but also a warmth, a connection across the divide. "I was betrayed," she whispered, voice like a sigh on the wind. "I cannot leave until justice is done." I nodded, tears streaming. "I will help you." As dawn crept into the sky, the theater's walls began to shimmer and fade. The exit reappeared, and Nira's form slowly dissolved into light. I stumbled out into the morning, heart pounding, clutching my camera and the golden sash. The city was waking up, indifferent to the night's horrors. In the days that followed, I delved deeper into Nira's story. I spoke with former dancers, family members, and even old stagehands. The more I uncovered, the darker the truth became. Nira had been poisoned, deliberately, by a jealous rival, desperate to claim the spotlight. Her death was covered up, dismissed as an accident, Her spirit, trapped between worlds, danced endlessly in the theater, waiting for someone to tell her story. With the help of a local shaman, Pim and I performed a ceremony to cleanse the theater, offering prayers and gifts to Nira's spirit. For the first time in decades, the haunting ceased, but the images remain. On my camera, her ghostly silhouette lingers in every photo of the theater, a reminder that some stories are never truly forgotten, and some shadows never fade. Story 4: The Shadow on the Han. My name is Haejin Kim. I was born into privilege. My father owns several properties along the Han River, and my mother is a professor of traditional Korean literature. Growing up, I never believed in the superstitions that fill my grandmother's stories: ghosts, curses, spirits of the drowned. That was for the poor, the old, or the overly religious. When I moved to Seoul in 2019 for work, I didn't rent a cheap apartment like most newcomers. I moved into one of my family's vacant properties, a sleek, glass-walled condo with a view of the Han River. It had been unoccupied for a year, and my father joked that I should make use of it before it started smelling like ghosts. I laughed. Rich people don't see ghosts. We live above that kind of thing, or so I thought. I moved in on a bright spring day. The condo was pristine, minimalist design, white walls, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, and not a speck of dust in sight. My mother had it cleaned regularly, despite it being empty. I placed a few framed photographs of my family, unpacked my clothes, and set up my laptop and camera equipment. The first few nights were uneventful. I enjoyed the luxury of silence. No noisy neighbors, no traffic outside, just the hush of the river and the occasional creak of the building settling. But on the fourth night, I woke to a strange sound, a soft tapping. At first, I thought it was from the pipes. Old condos sometimes made weird noises, but this wasn't mechanical. It was rhythmic, deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I got out of bed and walked barefoot to the living room. The tapping stopped as I entered. I looked around, nothing. The balcony door was locked, and the river below shimmered under the moonlight. I went back to bed, unsettled but not afraid. That changed the following week. I had a habit of photographing cityscapes. At dusk, the Han River lights up with bridges that glow in color, and Seoul's skyline is perfect for long exposures. I set my camera on a tripod facing the window and left the shutter open for a few seconds to capture the light trails of passing boats. When I reviewed the photos that night, I paused. In one shot, framed perfectly between two beams, stood a silhouette. A woman, thin, long hair hanging down, wearing what looked like a white hanbok. She was standing inside the apartment, behind me. But I had been alone. I stared at the photo for a long time. My heart thudded in my chest. I zoomed in. The face was blurry, but the figure was clear. Too clear. I told myself it must have been a light reflection, maybe even a trick of the camera. I deleted the file. The next day, I found the same silhouette in another photo, this time even closer, and I hadn't even taken that shot. My camera's shutter log showed it had been activated at 3:12 a.m. I was asleep. That's when the dream started. I began waking up drenched in sweat, unable to move, as if someone were sitting on my chest. In the dreams, I was back in my apartment, but everything was tinted blue and fog seeped through the walls. A woman stood in the living room, dancing slowly in a circle. Her hanbok rustled as she twirled, and a faint melody of traditional Korean flute and jangled drums echoed in the distance. One night, in the dream, I asked her who she was. She turned to me with a blank, hollow face and whispered, "You took my picture." I shot awake. My camera was on. Another photo had been taken while I slept. Terrified, I called my mother. "There's something wrong with the condo," I said. "Something's in here." My mother fell quiet. After a pause, she admitted the building had a reputation. A famous gizeng, a Korean traditional courtesan and performer, had once lived on the land where the condo now stood. Before she could perform in the king's court, she took her own life by the river. Some say she was jilted by a nobleman. Others believe she was framed for treason. Her body was never recovered. The land was considered cursed by older Seoul families. "You never told me," I said, furious. "I didn't think you believed me," she replied. "You never believe in any of this." I didn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, I avoided the living room. I kept the curtains closed, unplugged the camera, and even covered mirrors, but nothing helped. The tapping returned. Then came the whispers. At 2 or 3 in the morning, I would hear a woman singing just beyond my door. Not modern singing, traditional pansori music. Sad, slow, mournful. When I finally gathered the courage to open the door, there was never anyone there. But the air would smell faintly of jasmine and something metallic, like blood. One evening, I decided to do research. I combed through old forms, historical records, and even visited a professor of Korean folklore. He confirmed what my mother had said. The land was linked to the death of a dancer named Seo Ji-yeon in the early 1900s. She was supposed to debut at the Gyeongbokgung Palace, but disappeared the night before. Her last known location? The same riverbank where my condo now stood. Some believe her soul lingers, trapped between worlds, seeking closure. There had been past reports, tenants who saw a dancer in white, apartments where lights turned on and off by themselves. Even someone who claimed she saw Jian's face in her mirror and was later found dead from cardiac arrest. I wanted out, I told my parents, but my father insisted I stay. "It's our property," he said. "You're not a child. You'll be fine." That night, I decided to sleep in the guest bedroom, the one with no windows. I locked the door and left all lights on. But I still woke up to music. Faint drum beats, a bamboo flute. Then, from under the door, a flicker of movement, shadows dancing. Terrified, I screamed, but my throat made no sound. The door creaked open on its own. Standing there was Ji-yeon. She was closer now, her face pale, her hands outstretched, and her lips barely moved. "You see me now? Take me home." And then she vanished. The next morning, I packed everything and called my uncle to send movers. I refused to stay another day. Before leaving, I went back one last time to retrieve a memory card I'd forgotten in the camera. The condo was eerily quiet. As I entered the living room, the automatic blinds lifted on their own. There, in the reflection of the glass, I saw her again. But this time, she was not looking at me. She stood facing the river, her hands folded in front of her, still as death. I left without turning back. A week later, I visited a shaman with my mother. He performed a gut ritual and burned one of my photographs, chanting Ji-yeon's name. He said she wasn't evil, just lost. She was never given her final bow, he said. I don't know if that made a difference. All I know is, since that day, the dreams have stopped. The tapping ended. My camera works fine again, but I still keep that apartment locked. My father won't sell it. but I will never step foot inside again. Some ghosts don't want revenge. They just want someone to remember they existed. And I do. Thanks for listening to Dark Leaves Whisper. If you enjoyed these stories, please subscribe to keep the channel alive and share with others who love the mysterious. Until next time, keep an open mind and a watchful heart. The spirits may be closer than you think,